Hello everyone, I think you've probably heard the theory at least once that Crazy Dave is actually a zombie. Personally, I've heard this theory more than once, and in my opinion, it's quite interesting and explains some of Dave's strange behaviors. In this video, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel and just retell this theory, which you probably already know. Instead, I want to delve into it in more detail and decide whether this theory could be true or not. If you like this video format, I'll analyze other popular and interesting theories. Alright, I've gone on long enough, give a like and subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. So, the theory that Crazy Dave is a zombie first appeared on the Plants vs. Zombies wiki from one of the users in 2015. At least, that's the oldest post with this theory that I could find. If you haven't heard this theory before, I'll explain it to you. The evidence for this theory is as follows. 1. Crazy Dave speaks in his made-up language, which for an ordinary person is just gibberish, but what if it's not a language at all, but the moans of a turning zombie? 2. Dave says, "Because I'm crazy." Maybe Dave knows he's turning and is warning the player. 3. In PvZ2, there are quite a few hints that Dave is not who he seems. For example, when you meet Dr. Zomboss again in the far future, he says that Dave is a sleeper agent and that he will turn against the player, saying, hypno-zombosis. When the battle with the Zombot Tomorrowtron ends, Dave asks for the player's brain but quickly corrects himself and says he meant hot sauce. Also, when you first meet Dr. Zomboss in Egypt, he calls Crazy Dave David, implying that Dr. Zomboss might have been close to Dave before. Agree, these pieces of evidence sound quite plausible, but is it that simple? Let's look into this in more detail. Let's start with Dave's speech. Yes, when Dave speaks, it clearly doesn't feel like he's speaking any language. For an ordinary person, his speech is unintelligible gibberish. But Dave has a niece, Patrice, who appears in the PvZ comics and in the third game, and she understands Dave's speech and can even communicate with him in his language, which generally proves that Dave's speech is not just a set of sounds but quite meaningful speech. Regarding Dave saying he's crazy, could this be a warning that he's infected? Probably not, because if Dave is really infected and wants to deceive the player, why would he talk about it? Besides, Dave is genuinely crazy since his actions are sometimes, to put it mildly, strange. For example, in PvZ2, we travel several thousand years back just because Dave wants to eat a taco one more time. And in PvZ1, Dave gives us 1,000 coins for a piece of bacon. But what about the numerous hints in PvZ2 that Dave is not who he seems? Most often, these hints come from Zomboss. He says that Dave is a sleeper agent, and will turn against the player, saying, hypno-zombosis, but if Dave is really a secret agent of Zomboss, why would he tell us about it? It would make things worse for himself. Most likely, Zomboss just wants to lure the player to his side by portraying Dave in a bad light. And about Dave asking the player for a brain but quickly correcting himself and saying he meant hot sauce. Yes, it sounds suspicious, but it's probably just a joke. Since Dave is crazy and can say anything, he probably said it as a joke because Zomboss accuses him of not being who he seems. As for Zomboss calling Dave David, implying they were close friends, that's probably true, because in PvZ3, we find a time capsule with a photo from a science fair where Dave won, leaving Zomboss behind. This likely caused their fallout and is the reason Zomboss hates Dave. But this doesn't prove Dave is a zombie, it only proves that Dave and Zomboss were friends who eventually hated each other. Here are a couple more pieces of evidence disproving this theory. 1. Dave's appearance. If you look at Zomboss, you can immediately tell he's a zombie. In contrast, if you look at Dave, he looks like an ordinary person, except for the pot on his head, which he wears either for protection from zombies or because he's crazy. 2. His intelligence. Yes, there are intelligent zombies like Zomboss, who writes eloquently, speaks well, and creates various robots, but this is an exception, as most zombies cannot think at all. Their only goal is brains. Meanwhile, Dave is a very smart person and a good engineer who invents various mechanisms, plants, etc. So, I'm quite sure this theory is not true and Dave is not a zombie. But what do you think? Is this theory true or not? Share your opinion in the comments, I'd be interested to read them. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can check out my other videos. And I say goodbye, see you next time.